Lee stopped singing before the recording started then. Anyway, here we are, 2025, a brand new year, a brand new happiness to be found on a Podful of Saints. The unbeaten Podful of Saints, Elson was here, I should say, during 2025, of course. With myself, David Tavener, and the croaky today, Lee Wood.
Happy New Year, Tavs. Happy New Year, everybody. Oh, my days. Crack on.
And it's always happy when we see Jake Ellacott.
Hello, everyone. I hope we're all enjoying Lee's Kevin Mudd impression. It needs a little bit of work, but it's getting there. So hope you're all well.
Best thing is, Jake, you're almost disappearing out the bottom of the camera. Right. We've got a couple of games to look back on, both with some Albans City connections on the bench. Lee Allenson, manager of Hemel Hempstead Town, former assistant manager at Clarence Park, to his father, Ian Culverhouse, of course, and then at Enfield Town yesterday, Gavin McPherson, manager there, former Albans City player, 9 games for the first team and plenty for the reserves. Right, we're going back to Boxing Day, a game that didn't quite go all the way, 53 minutes when the lights said they'd had enough. How's that song goes? It we pay your benefits, but not your electricity bill. I think our lot were singing something like that, which is so unkind. It's not festive at all. But it's a funny old game, wasn't it? Ian Culverhouse, he put Ben Smith and Alfie Payne in the midfield together. Now, most supporters are struggling to put either of them in at the moment because they want more attack-minded players. So he had to look at them together, see what it's like. And it's got to be said that first half, I wouldn't say it was down to them, we were just so comfortable. But I don't know what you two took from it, but I thought a lot of it was down to just because how abysmal Hemel Hempstead Town were. They looked awful on the ball. They just looked clueless. And Lee Anson's got a lot of work there to do to turn that around, which we saw signs of that happening in the second half, as you may agree in a minute. But our work rate, I thought, was terrific. And everybody thought we looked like getting more goals, but we only had one shot on target as it was in the first half. And, of course, Zane scored. And I'll leave it to whichever one of you two wants to pick up from that.
I think that's a pretty good summary, to be honest. I thought first half Hemel, we looked all right, we looked comfortable. I think a lot of it was Hemel looked pretty poor, but I will say actually defensively, I thought we looked decent. There was a few times, especially down the left-hand side, that Chinadu had to do a little bit of work there, and the defence just looked a bit more solid. And I think you could see the impact of the management team now in terms of the defence. But yeah, I thought we deserved our lead going into the break, to be honest.
Yeah, you go along with that, Lee?
Absolutely. One thing that I loved was the strength of character in the defence as well. Excuse me. Chinadu, Longe-King, Claridge all stood up and fronted the challenge ahead. They were tough, they were strong, they were physical, they weren't going to be bullied. And I love the cohesion. So all in all, really, really buoyed by the defensive performance. And that should hold us in good stead as well. One mention as well that I will say about Zane playing in a more central role. If you cast your mind back, I think we probably got the best out of him 6-7 years ago when he was playing in a more sort of central role there. His movement for our goal was absolutely exemplary, wasn't it? And a good spot by Charles to make, to sort of see that run as well. And I think what you're going to see now is Zane playing a more pivotal role. The thing with Zane, he is a class player. And in the past, we've been guilty of trying to put him out in a position we know he'll do a good job there. But let's play to his strengths now. And I think that's what Culverhouse and Badstock are doing. And we've seen the benefits of that.
Yeah, it's Castiglione, wasn't it? Josh Castiglione put the ball through for the goal, wasn't it, I think?
I thought it was Kenny Charles.
Oh, it was Ken Charles then, was it? Well, somebody whose name begins with a C, so whoever wants to claim it, they can have it.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, but didn't it change? Start of second half. Hemel level within 2 minutes. Was it Ricardo German? Younger brother of a former City player, Antonio German. And for those 8 minutes of the second half, we were on the back foot. They were coming at us. And it looked like it was going to go one way. Had it looked like it was going to go our way in the first half, I thought Hemel, they started really brightly and totally different side to the way they were in the first half. And we were slow to react.
No, we definitely were. And I think it's no surprise, is it, that an Allenson team comes out after half-time in the derby looking very fired up. They made that tactical change as well, didn't they? They brought in former Saint Kyle Wiltshire, which seemed to help their midfield quite a bit, actually, against our midfield, which had been dominating till then. I think we don't know how the game would have went. I suspect Culverhouse and Bazza would have made changes fairly sharpish. There was a couple of boys on the bench that probably would have come on, but I say Hemel had taken charge, and it was a shame to concede so quickly after half time because it just dampened the atmosphere amongst a very joyful away support until that point.
The away support was good, wasn't it? It was all the way through. It was making a lot of noise. They were enjoying it, even when it was dark. And I don't know. It would have been fascinating to see how that game would have gone. It's a shame it did get abandoned because the way it turned around so much. But anyway, we go back there on another day. No news on that, have you? Or I don't suppose Hemel are going to offer discounts to those who were there, were they?
It seems unlikely, doesn't it? But I'll let you comment that, Dave. I think the one thing we do know is it's probably going to be a Monday, isn't it? And looking at calendars, because they play on Mondays now, look at calendars, maybe February. So, but yeah, no news yet.
Well, unless they changed the rules, you had to rearrange it within 42 days, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So within 6 weeks. So assume it's going to be pretty soon because we've got a fairly clear midweek run at the moment, although we've still got to fit in the Hearts Charity Cup and Hearts Senior Cup. And
cool.
Nothing happening on those at the moment. The big games, the big games. But there we go. We shall see. Right, so that one, not a lot more we can say about that, really. Funny enough, the lights weren't that great before they went off, were they? And they went down to it looked like about half power, didn't it? And in the old days, you'd have played in that light, especially that nice green one they had down the far end.
Oh, my God. He's putting the boat in today, mate, isn't he?
well, it's true, though, but their lights weren't the best. Worthing, previous away game, they weren't the best either. I don't know, maybe it's for half light and the lights at this level aren't powerful enough to really shine until it gets really dark. What do I know?
Or maybe it's the fact that you're 105, Tav. So, you can't see in the dark.
Can't see. Yeah, that's a very valid point. Right, let's move on from that game to yesterday, New Year's Day at Clarence Park, Enfield Town. A first league game against that club in that guise. Played against the old Enfield many, many times and usually came off second best. But we didn't this time. It was interesting, wasn't it? If I could get the team up here somewhere, where was it? Enfield Town. Smith and Payne came in at Hemel, immediately dropped again, both of them. Smith's not in the squad. I think he took the blame for the goal as well, the Hemel goal. Payne was on the bench. Charles dropped as well. Tafari Moore dropped as well. He doesn't mind chopping and changing in Culverhouse, does he? That came Dom Hutchinson out of nowhere. Sean Jeffers, we've heard of him, and Gio Rasulu. But maybe one of the biggest influences, Deon Woodman, centre half on loan, or central defender on loan back from Wealdstone. That looks a decent capture.
Yeah, much needed, wasn't it? I think everyone had identified that we needed a centre half after our old friend Joe Partington left for the sunny uplands of Worthing. And yeah, Deon. He was really, really good, I thought, when he was with us, and it was a real shame when he left because we were looking quite solid at the back, weren't we? So to have him come back in, and I thought again, you could see his influence on the defence actually straight away. That defence isn't the most experienced. There's a couple of younger lads in there. I thought Deon did really, really well. He made a few appearances for Wealdstone while he was back there. So I think I'm glad to have him back, and I think all Saints fans are happy to see him back at the park.
Yeah, James Claridge was moved forward a bit more, wasn't he? He was in front of the back three. I nearly said four. Interesting. We'll come on to that in a minute. When we played Truro, I spoke to one of their supporters. He said Phil Chinadu. He's a big lump. Well, we've got three of them now, haven't we? David Longe-King, Deon Woodman. They're quite a formidable size, and hopefully they've got ability to really shore up the defence. I guess you were pleased to see Deon back as well, Lee?
Yeah, massively. I think those three, they have different attributes that they bring. They're not all just your religiously tall, powerful, strong. They are that as well, but they're real athletes as well to boot, and they can cover some ground, no doubt about it. I think the Woodman is the sort of player who will fit into that system well. He's young, he's prepared to learn. As Jake said, he was brilliant the first time around, and I think under the guise of Bazza and Ian, he'll only thrive as well. And I think what you've seen, the quality now of our defending, it's bodies on the line, but it's intelligence with it as well. They're reading the game better. I think Claridge just sitting in front we looked at it at the start of the game and we thought, what the hell's going on here? But I actually thought he played okay. You know, he's young enough and he's adapted enough to sort of work in that system. Not the best opposition, but that's fine. I mean, he's going to learn, as is Ian and Bazza as well. So I don't mind him playing there, because I think Smith, it was his fault that led to their goal against Hemel, and Ian's got to look at different options in that role. That's what he wants. He wants that pivotal midfielder, that, you know, that the Makaleli role. And if Claridge can do a job there, then I'm all for that. No problem at all.
Yeah, the game is not going to hang around long, is it? Not as long as a piece of onion in a cheese sandwich, really.
What?
But, sorry, we're going off piste a bit.
I think so.
But I thought first half, both sides tried to play football, and which was encouraging, because they're both in the bottom position. They both needed to win, and losing for whichever side lost, well, you can't help thinking that's curtains, really. And for us we started brightly. Sean Jeffers had that chance early on. Reece Forster in the Enfield goal. Good save, pushed the ball onto the post. And then we got a very well worked goal. Patient after the corner broke down, patiently built it up again. And how they could leave 2 or 3 players unmarked like that. Well, Enfield's paid the price for it. And David Longe-King got his first goal of the season. Nice composed finish. But what happened after that? I thought Enfield, they're seen as the poorest side in the league. So many teams have told us that. And the defeat for them yesterday put them down to the bottom. But for much of the remaining game, they were our equals. And for a spell, they were the better side. But they were the best. They had the better chances first half. Alfie Tuck missed an absolute sitter. We should have scored. They tested us. We didn't really overly test the keeper as much as I felt we could have done from the positions we got in. And a lot of people were very concerned with that performance coming on the back of those few minutes at Hemel. I think there's a lot to be done. To me, that midfield was as weak as you can get, and as better side would have punished us yesterday. Certainly stretched us anyway.
Yeah, I think when we saw the team sheet, we also thought, well, there's no central midfielders in this team, so how's this going to go? I thought Claridge did all right there. He's not perfect for that role, but I thought he suited the game against the opposition that we were playing against. But he couldn't. If we did that, say, at Eastbourne on Saturday, I think it'd be a very different story, that midfield. I think first half especially, every time the ball went up the other end after we'd scored, went up in Enfield's attack, the ball just seemed to be bouncing around, working out, well, how hasn't that got in? How hasn't that got in? What's happening here? It was just a bit chaotic, wasn't it, defensively? And I think there's still those issues that we know Culverhouse and Bazza are working on. And I think there's still that need for a bit more grit and determination, a bit of steel in this team, potentially. I think probably in that midfield area, which hopefully will be coming.
You said about Enfield Town not being the best opposition, Lee. You probably had that opinion before the game, and after seeing them, what did you think?
Well, I actually spoke to their chairman, who I know really, really well, and a couple of their board members as well. They expected very little out of that game. They are a fragile team. Confidence is so low; it's rock bottom. But speaking to them at the end of it, they thought a point would have been just, but they appreciate that they are where they are because the quality is lacking. They've got 1 or 2 really good players, and I thought they had quite a lot of purchase along the flanks. But again, all they had was just getting those crosses into the box, but they were being gobbled up by Chinadu and Woodman and Longe-King. So they didn't really seem to have a plan B, but they kept persisting, which is good. I mean, look, if you're down there, you want a little bit of fight out of all of your players. I can't see them being any threat to anyone else going forward. They're going to struggle by their own admission as well. So, look, I earmarked that game as must win, absolute must win. And by hook or by crook, we managed that. It wasn't pretty and it wasn't always flowing, but first things first, 3 points. We've done that. Now we've built upon that in terms of personnel and confidence.
I think you're right. They've got some good players. Tim Petty, he picked out, particularly in the first half, Sam Youngs, who then got that late goal, a free header, nicely
Yeah.
placed in the top corner. And there's a couple of times that first half, you said down the flanks, Billy Leonard, number 12, got so much space down their right-hand side, but he squandered it. He didn't make the most of it both times, and they could have really had us there because they were quick breakaways, and they blew it. I'd be very surprised if they don't finish bottom of the table. But, you know, good luck to them, mate. They've done well to bounce back to where they are so quickly, and it's going to be a struggle to stay there. Can you see them surviving, Jake?
I mean, it's not that early. I mean, if I'm hoping that we can survive, then I'm going to say Enfield have a chance. You know, there's still a lot of football to be played, isn't there? I think their problem is their resources are somewhat limited, aren't they? And I don't know if they're going to make a manager change because they're just aware of the situation that they're in. So probably going to be difficult, as Lee says, having spoken to them. But you can't write them. I think writing them off now would be foolish because you just don't know. There's other clubs that we know have got financial issues to say that are cutting budgets, etc. So there's always a chance, isn't there? But you know, but you could say the same about us. There's a big gap that we need to claw back at the minute. So,
well, that was the thing, wasn't it? They were a point above us. If they'd won, they'd now be just 6 points away from safety. We won, thankfully. So we've gone from 10 down to 7 points away from, was it Welling United or whatever, which is catchable, doable. You talk about clubs with financial troubles. Well, there's one there. You see, Bath City, 3 straight wins. They pulled right away, and that's the danger. 1, 2 of these sides above us, they go on a run, then whatever the gap is now, you don't reduce it because they're doing what we're hoping to do. So that just shows how crucial yesterday's game was.
yeah, absolutely. I think all season we've talked about, haven't we, that we need to carry momentum at some point. We thought these odd couple of decent results that we had would be points to start with momentum, and we just haven't. And hopefully this week is one. But looking at the games we've got coming up, it's going to be really, really hard, unfortunately. But, you know, mate, if we get 3 wins on the bounce now, it just looks so much better, wouldn't it?
Of course, going into games away to Eastbourne Borough and Western-super-Mare, both high up there, saying 3 straight wins sounds foolish, but Western are way out of form at the moment. They're dropping quicker on the Christmas decorations. And Eastbourne aren't as strong as they were early in the season. It could have been a worse time to play these two sides. You fancy anything, Lee?
Oh, cautiously. I think the win at Enfield means nothing if we're going to go and lose at Eastbourne, you know. But I think we're mentally geared up now to sort of grind out results when we need to. Eastbourne hasn't always been a happy hunting ground for us. We'll do well to get something, Tavs, really. I'm not saying I'm weary of the fixture, but I've got a lot more confidence now going into these sorts of games, knowing the mindset of the players, knowing the determination. I thought the application yesterday was absolutely spot on. You know, just that first to the ball, that fight and that desire to be first to the ball and the second ball. I've said it in the past, but I'll say it again because it's been lacking so much since August. To have that on show is just a joy to behold, knowing that you've got players going out there, out of position as well in some cases, but they're still putting in a bloody good shift. And I think the reaction from the terraces shows you what that means. All we want is to be competitive, and you know, to have players who are willing to fight. That's all we ask for, really.
You say about the reaction of the terraces. To me, all the end of match things was so all over the top. And Ian Culverhouse said the players were magnificent. And I think that's just a bit of PR, just to boost everybody. And so it was over the top. We beat Enfield. We haven't beaten Barcelona or somebody. Keep it in context. We haven't won a cup. We're not in the playoffs. I can understand it for the importance of a win. But hope nobody gets too carried away from it. And I don't think anybody will. And I think if he goes into the Eastbourne game with that same side, he will struggle, or we will struggle. It's Eastbourne are going to be too strong for that midfield, you would have thought. But the thing about it, we said in recent pods, he's looked at the whole of his squad to see what they can do. And he's trying different formulas with them even now, different positions. So he should know them not quite inside out, but not far off it. Do you think he actually knows his best side now with what he's got? Looking at all the changes he made, there were 4 more yesterday.
I think I think he's still trying to find out his best starting 11, but I think Ian is much more aware and cognizant of the tactical requirements to change each game. I thought you saw that yesterday in terms of we brought in the big lads to deal with their big lads up front, and it worked to an extent. And I think it would be the same for Eastbourne. I wouldn't be shocked to see midfielder or Alfie Payne come back in because Eastbourne are more likely to be on the floor, I think, in terms of attacking. So we're going to need a bit of fight in that central area. So, but I don't know if he does know his best 11. There's still quite a lot of question marks, isn't there? And a lot of players that sounds like there might be more players leaving as well in the coming weeks. So,
Well, you wonder the lack of signings. Have they been given the budget to bring players in? Because you would have thought we'd have seen something by now. All we've had is a couple of loan players, no proper signings, which you can put down to being, yeah, that's a Culverhouse signing. Because like Woodman, he's been with the club before already this season. So you suspect there's an old link there that got that. So you wonder, are their hands tied a bit? And he's got to get some players out. We've seen 3 go. Do we need maybe to get more out before he can really do what he wants to?
I mean, I don't know if there needs to be more to get more in because I think we've already seen with Partington and Lynch that would have freed up quite a bit, wouldn't it, really, in terms of budget? So, but I think there's a couple of players that he probably wants to get rid of in terms of they're not really adding anything to the squad at this point. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a few more depart. But in terms of players coming in, I agree. I think a lot of Saints fans expected a few more new faces at this point. But I would, I think we know that the management team are taking their time and they're going for players that they really, really want and not just a bunch of free agents from division below who end up not really contributing anything and we have to get rid of them in 2 months' time. And I think from what we're hearing, I wouldn't be shocked if we see another face or two potentially before Eastbourne, possibly a midfielder. There was also talk about a player in the forward areas as well. So I think we will now start seeing some more faces come in, especially as well. Remember the transfer window is now open, and I know that doesn't normally apply to us, but if they're looking for players from say Boston or other National League clubs, that's also another factor in terms of registration areas and contracts. So be interested to see, but I think it's now reached the point where we will see some new faces come in.
Getting quality players in this time of year is difficult because they're under
Yeah.
contract, and if they're quality, they'll be in their teams and playing. They won't be coming to the likes of us at the moment. Do you think his hands are tied at all, Lee, or do you think it's still just a case of biding his time?
Biding the time for the quality players. We've got our fingers burnt in the past tabs where we've just got players in for the sake of it, and they've either sat on the bench for like a month or they've barely contributed. I think with Ian and Bazza, what you're going to see is they're not going to be rushed into this. They've been dealt the hand they have, and they're trying to make the best out of the squad they've got. But they've identified. We know that they know that the players have got to go. Some of the players on our books are not good enough, but they've been tied to deals or contracts or whatever. So I think out of respect to those players, they've tried to sort of give them enough time and opportunity to showcase themselves. Excuse me. So we'll see. We do need better players. And there are better players out there, but they cost money. So in order to get those in, we've got to, speculate to accumulate. However, I think time is at a premium now where we need to give these new players a good run, a good few months or so to get themselves in. But again, it's just about availability, awareness, and money, unfortunately.
Yeah. One of those loan players, one of you mentioned earlier, Claridge, he did that wild hack late in the game yesterday. Ian actually praised it in the interview, but no, it was immature. It was pointless. It should have gone down the pitch, that ball. And what happened was it actually led to them getting a goal. It was part of the panic measures. You could see we weren't comfortable with trying to hang on that stage of the game. We weren't used to it. The confidence wasn't there. And just whacking it out like that, it cost us a goal. So get some quality players in there, bring a bit of composure in, and we can see out these games a lot more comfortably, you would hope.
Yeah, it was very...
I liked it. No, I liked it. I mean, no, I did. I mean, to be fair, look, young, inexperienced, but look, it's fine. it didn't cost us ultimately, but what you say is absolutely spot on, Tabs. You know, we're going to face bigger tests in the season, and we need to have the right players in the right positions to make sure that it doesn't cost us, because we need to fight for every single point that is available, boys. And we need a little bit of composure and the right heads as well.
Yeah, and Michael Johnson continues as captain. We're all okay with that. Maybe I'm surprised Longe-King hasn't got it. Maybe he's not captain material. Or Woodman now, is he a leader? It's difficult still to see a leader out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's been a sticking point all season, hasn't it? The leaders that we thought we had weren't actually really leaders to the extent we needed. So I think MJ's doing okay. He got quite angry at the end, didn't he, at full time? Wasn't happy. I don't know exactly what that was all about. I presume it was because of the goal that had gone in. But yeah, a little bit of feistiness there. And I thought it was quite interesting actually at the end to see him and Bazza really embrace in front of the fans. And I think MJ, he's not been perfect this season. I think at times, like a lot of the squad, he's looked low on confidence. I think Bazza is just helping him bring his confidence back a bit again, because we know it's been difficult for him. So that is good to see. Yeah, MJ's doing all right.
And I think we should give it a praise to Jack James. He always works his little cotton socks off, getting down that right wing, and he screwed up one earlier in the game. But then that winning goal, he had the composure with his second shot with a rebound off the first one off a keeper, and a very nice finish. And it was a beaming Mrs. James walked behind us, his mum, towards the end of the game. But Jack is an unsung hero, isn't he? He just works hard. His distribution sometimes dodgy, but you need players like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a workhorse, you know.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he's unsung probably to people who don't come down on a regular basis. I think to the hardcore City fans, we know what we're going to get out of him. We're going to get 100%. And yes, his decision making at times in the second half was choice at best. But he works hard. He gets himself into those positions, and he took his goal well, considering that he could have just had another wild swing at it. But no, listen, he's a good player. He's done exceptionally well for us this season, and long may he continue.
Yes. Right. I think that concludes yesterday as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, one thing. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Oh, God.
The attendance, 1955. Excellent attendance, wasn't it? Because the weather, it was better than it was in the morning, but it wasn't the best days we were standing outside.
No, it wasn't. It was a great crowd. And also, mentioned the away fans as well, the Enfield fans. They travelled in big numbers, didn't they? Really good support. It was a really good atmosphere, I thought, at Clarence Park yesterday. So, really good support. Just under 2,000. Not bad, is it, going, really?
So it's boosted, not by your normal friends from Finland or wherever it is they come from, but Boston United fans this time. Their game at Wealdstone was called off. So about a dozen or so made their way into Clarence Park, and there was a coach load, apparently, of 53 were heading to Clarence Park. And then the club told the coach driver, not our club, no, you're going home, mate. So they missed out on being at the theatre. They probably dreamt of coming here for years, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. You know. Also, Wealdstone with pitch problems? Surely not.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
And Hampton was off pitch problems. You look at it, it looks perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Referee yesterday. How about this? Nicholas Dunn from Deal. Done deal. You can't dream it up, can you? Right. That'll do for yesterday, won't it?
Have you got any stats for Lee before we move on?
Well, it's funny, not really. I was going to prepare a bit and I didn't do it in the end. But you think back 2024 and you think what a dreadful year it's been for the club, because our form in the second half of the season. Well, it's shocking, wasn't it? We got humiliated in the FA Cup, humiliated in the FA Trophy, humiliated in the league since the start of the season. But you go back to first part of the year up to about, I think it's about 12th of March, was it, when we played Western-super-Mare away and we won there. We could beat anybody the way it was going at that time. And I did have something here, but you caught me out here, Jake. Well, we had a fantastic run, 37 points from 17 games up to then. John Meeks had picked up, 19 in his first 10 games. Nobby won his last 4, won 6 of his last 7 before he got enticed by Wealdstone. That worked out well. And we were flying, but then it all went wrong. End of a season. 1 win in 8, 5 points from 8 games. Meeks couldn't turn it round, and he lost his job as Nobby came back. Nobby speeded up our decline at the start of this season, and that's a bit what everybody remembers. It's like a game. You remember what happens in the last 10 or 15 minutes. What's happened before then, you almost forget it. Whether you go home on a high or a low depends what's happened late on. So it's like 2024. All right, it's only the first third. It was rather good, but it would generally be seen as a very poor year for the club.
Yep.
What year? What year?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Good summary, Dave.
It was going to be a lot more than that, but because Lee's not well, we cut it short. What I mean is I haven't done the work. Right. This coming Saturday, 4th of January, away to Eastbourne Borough. Lee mentions we never do well there. But you're obviously not going to give a negative prediction, are you, Lee?
No.
We didn't do any for Enfield. Well, I would have gone for 2-1 win, but never mind, it's too late now. Go on, where you going for Eastbourne?
I'm going to go for 2-2. I think there's goals in it. Yeah, I like that 2-2.
That's what you went for at Hemel, so we'll be home by 5 o'clock. This one to finish early as well. Then go on, then, Jake.
Reverse psychology. Going to go for a 1-0 defeat. Hopefully, this will work. I mean, if you look at the Eastbourne's team on their website, there's a lot of names. They've got a good team. Adam Murray as well. They've really spent the season, haven't they? And you can see why they're up there. We know they're full time as well. It's going to be a big ask. I think the only thing is they get a lot of draws. They don't seem to score many goals. So if we set up defensively, I wouldn't be shocked if it's quite a tight game.
And they don't score many goals. Coming from a club that's got 24 in 23 or whatever it is. Right. Yeah, well, it's going to be a 2-0 defeat, obviously. Right, that's that. Are we expecting anybody coming in before then? Any new players?
Oh, yeah, apparently the talk of a midfielder. So we'll see if that happens. So no idea who, or if it's loan or permanent, but that'll be much needed, I think. There was also talk of us being linked to an attacker as well, but I don't know if the attack is an area that I know we're not scoring a lot of goals, but I think central midfield's really the priority, isn't it, for the minute?
I haven't looked at it yet. There's an interview with the coach, which Ian and Bazza brought in with them. His name escapes me at the moment, which isn't very good. That's the one. And you may have noticed, right, he's coming, but the goalkeeper coach, Ryan Carer, he's now down with the reserves because it's pointless when you've got Paul Bassock in with the first team. You don't really need the other one there. So we're seeing some subtle changes off the pitch.
Yeah, and no surprise, is it really? Bazza and Culverhouse want to come in and make their changes that they want. I think they're here. Hopefully, for whatever happens, hopefully they'll be here for the long term. But if they want to get things right, I think they've got the opportunity, haven't they? And hopefully the space to make the changes to the club on the footballing side that they want to.
Yes, well said, Batman. Just looking at Eastbourne, you're right. The last 2 games are 0-0. The last 2, they got 1 goal before that. Then a 1-2, couple of noughts. Oh, you're right. I might have to change my prediction. Should have looked at this.
My 2-2. So my 2-2 looking absolutely spot on. Then.
Last time they had 4 goals in a game, even was back on the 26th of November. Yeah. No, well, right. Are we done?
I think so. Got anything else we want to add, Lee, Dave?
No, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to bed and take some more drugs. So yeah, it's good.
That's a funny way of saying going to the pub. So thank you all for watching and listening over Christmas and before Christmas and last year, and hopefully in this new year as well. Thank you. We all really appreciate all the engagement on social media, etc. Podful of Saints on Twitter, email below, and we'll speak to you again next week after Saturday's game. See what happens. Let's keep the faith. Come on, you Saints. Bye-bye, everyone.
Yeah.